Hello, and today we're going to learn about graphing from the equation of a line. This is a much easier method than finding the coordinate points. You need to know all the methods, though, that are required because depending on what the question gives you, you might be able to use one over the other, or they might ask you to. So we only need to know the general form, which is y equals mx plus b. Here we know that m is our slope or our gradient, and b is our y-intercept, so our point 0b. This is often best achieved by covering up just our x term, and we can pick out our y value at 0. So to plot a line, we only need 2 points. So the value of b tells us how far up or down on the y-axis we have our first point. The second point comes from our gradient. So this is only one method. There are multiple methods to plotting or graphing linear lines, but this is kind of a standard one that works for every single one. So I would use it if you could. So here we have our gradient is a change in our y over a change in our x. We're going to work with this example today where y equals 2x plus 3. Our y-intercept is 3. This means we have one point at 0, 3. This can be seen if you just take your finger and cover up the 2x. You see that y is 3. And that only happens where we have, where we have 0. So y is 3 at x is 0. Our next thing that we can do, well, we see 2x, right? So we've dealt with the 3, we can see 2x. So this means we have a gradient of 2. So the x is just telling us that, hey, that number to the left, that's our slope. So this tells us we have a slope or gradient of 2, which we can write as a fraction as 2 over 1, because every whole number is over just the value 1. This tells us from our point 0, 3, or wherever our y-intercept is, this value tells us how much we move. Okay? It's kind of like you could relate it to when you did transformations and you had a translation vector, right? But instead of the top being the x, and now the top's the y. So just keep in mind this. I'm just trying to make connections for yourselves for your own benefit. But as long as you understand that it's changing y over changing x, then you can see that, well, we have a positive 2. Well, we usually go up with positives, right? So we're going to do the same here. We move up 2, and positive 1 means we go right 1. So we can plot our first point on our graph at 0, 3 as such. Then we can go up 2 and over 1, which gives us the point 1 and 5. Lastly, get your ruler or your straight edge and connect your points, drawing to the edge of the axes or the graph as much as you can. I like to sometimes plot more points because, as you can tell, those points are kind of close together, so it's a little bit more accurate if they're spread apart. Here's 3 questions. So using that same table from the last video, we could use that because the x values range from -3 to 3. So you should have 7 different points, or you could have 7 different points if you did it by coordinates, but I want you to do it from the equation of the line. So once you're done finding your 2 points on each, or your 1 point, you can start the plot, pause the video, and once you're ready, press play. Okay, so we're going to go through the answers now. So these ones you can't really talk about a table of values or anything. You can just kind of check. So the way to check these is look at your y-axis. That's the vertical line with the numbers going up and down. Check your y-intercept. Make sure you have that dot in that dot along the y-axis in the right position. Then you can check your other point based on its position to our y-intercept. So in our first one, our gradient was 1, so I went right 1, up 1. Then I could draw my line. The next one, it was -1, so I went, well, I changed y, down 1, and then I still went to the right one. Because that negative only affects 1. It's -1 over 1, not -1 over -1, because that would just be a division, and we'd end up with positive. So, next one, we have 2x. So we started at 1, we go up 2 and over 1. Then we have -2 for the next. So we go down 2 and over 1. So notice a lot of them, unless they're fractions, are always just going to go over 1. So it's really our y most of the time we interact with. And if you are given it as a fraction, well, it's all spelled out for you there. With our next one, we have y equals x over 2 plus 6. So we start at 6, right? And then we go 1 over 2, so we're going up 1 and over 2. So we get a less steep line because it's less than 1. Then we have y equals 3x over 2 minus 3. So we start at minus 3 on our y-axis. And we go up 3 and then over 2 to the right. That lines up with that line.